Hi, it's Christmas morning. I'm gonna be making corned beef brisket, and as far as choosing a brisket, I chose a one piece, small enough to fit in the pot. Um, I noticed they've been using in commissary, or at least this brand, at least the John Morrell brand. They've been using two tips, brisket tips, and putting it together to make it look like one piece. So be aware that you need to look at the actual package of what you're getting, because it might not be what you want. You know, you might want, like in this case, one solid piece, and then when it gets cooked up, it'll swell up. And then when I slice it later after it's been chilled, I'll slice nice slices like that, especially if you're gonna use it for sandwiches or something like that. Okay. So be aware, if you don't really care, and you just want the corned beef, and then you're just gonna cut it up in smaller pieces, then it doesn't really matter. Okay. Anyway, this particular brand, like most brands, have it's packaged in a sealed package, and then there's usually a spice packet. Now, if you're buying the ones in the 5-gallon buckets, rinse it off after you open the bucket, because there's usually a lot of salt in it. In these vacuum package type, uh, they just take whatever juice is in the meat, because they don't add any more juice to it. So all this juice is actually from what was inside the meat. Okay, so I'm just gonna cut it open. Most times you rinse it off in cold water, but in this particular case, there's not that much juice in it. Whatever juice was actually left in the meat. So I'm just gonna open it and put it straight in, juice and all. Okay, because this is the juice that was inside the meat. Okay, now granted it is salty, but you're gonna be adding a lot of cold water, and it won't really matter that much. With the bucket corned beef, you need to get rid of the excess salt, because I've packed corned beef in a bucket, and in our particular plant we put in a lot of salt, so there's actually too much salt. Okay, so anyway, so take the spice packet, and then just sprinkle the pickling spices. Now you can add your own spices, but usually the spice packet is good enough. Take some cold water and just pour it in to cover the meat. Okay, I'm gonna avoid, not that it really matters, I'm gonna try and avoid putting the spices, because as you can see, I'll bring it closer to you. As you can see, the spices float on the top anyway. Okay, so there's just enough cold water to cover the top. Okay, and then we're gonna put on the cover and put it on boil. We're gonna let this boil. It'll come up to a boil. We'll let it boil for about maybe about an hour, up to, you want to have it boil or at least simmering for at least 3 hours. Okay, that will really tenderize the meat, and then it'll certainly be cooked thoroughly. And later on, when we add the glaze, we'll be adding a glaze and caramelizing it. Okay, but main thing here is put cold water in and bring it to a boil, put it on simmer, and then let it cook for at least 3.5 hours is best. Okay, you can go longer, but it doesn't really need 3 hours. 3.5 hours is more than adequate to do this recipe. Okay, so cold water, spice pack, meat covered with cold water, and then bring to a boil. Let simmer for at least 3 hours, 3 to 3.5 hours.